This third generation slider from Zeapon is probably the most perfect slider out there, all because of this one feature. But that's not all they've updated. Today, I'm going to convince you why you should think about the Zeapon Micro 3 in your future. Hey, what's going on everybody? Too Long Didn't Read Filmmaker here, where I take all the important information in a review, cram it into a small video so you can get on your way. So the one and only major question here is, what did they actually update in their Micro 3 slider to make this one of the best sliders currently on the market? There's quite a few, so buckle up. The major update they have done is how fast you can actually attach a motor onto this thing so you can go between a motor push versus a manual push. Basically, on the one side of the slider here, you have some RE Rose locks, and then you look on the bottom of the motor, it also has an RE Rose lock. So literally what you do is just put the motor on top, screw it in, and you are done. It literally takes like 5 seconds. So this is great. Now you can go from a manual push to a motor push within seconds. The other update with the motor is that you no longer have to use the smartphone app if you want to loop between A-B points. Simply press the left arrow and the power button at the same time once you've set your A-B points, and it'll start looping back and forth. To stop it, press the right button and the power button, and it will stop. There's also this extra button up here, and this is to release the motor so you can actually manually set up the A-B points. Simply hold this release button until it's flashing, and then simply physically move the carriage where you want for your A point, double tap the power button, move it to the B point, double tap the power button, and there you go. You have now manually set your A-B points. This is great as it makes your shooting and setup much faster. In terms of the motor strength, we're still seeing some really great numbers here. If you're going to be trying to pull a setup vertically, you have about 4 kilograms of power, which is approximately 9 pounds. And if you're going to be doing it horizontally, you're looking at about 12 kilograms or basically about 26 pounds. Now this is still using a servo motor, which basically means it's not going to be as silent as a brushless one. So here are some sound samples from 3 different speeds. Moving away from the motor, let's look at the slider itself. We actually have a tension adjustment now, which is great for people that are doing full manual pushes. You now can determine how much resistance you want. They've also updated how you lock the carriage in place. You now can lock it anywhere. Simply put the carriage where you want, twist this knob over here to lock the belt. The last update is the carriage platform, which is a lot wider than before. The original version had a really thin strip for the carriage, and while it did work for small setups, for much heavier setups, they had a tendency to wobble back and forth. But now that they have changed the railing system to support a much wider base, now you don't have that problem anymore. So what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is Zeapon has been listening, and they've heard all my feedback as well as other reviewers, and they finally fixed everything. This is probably one of the best motors out there, and some people might say, okay, well, the servo motor is quite loud. Well, you use a servo motor to have more power. If they made a brushless motor, which they technically could, and make it a little attachment, they could do that. So for people that are saying, I want more power, use a servo motor. I want silence because I am doing stuff with interview, then they could have a brushless motor module. Zeapon, look into that. This slider as it stands is probably one of the best sliders I have ever used. But I think we can actually improve on this. Not the slider part, but the 3-axis motion control part. So basically, this is what needs to happen, Zeapon. I don't want to use the smartphone app at all. What you want to do is make sure the sliding motor is kind of like the master of the Bluetooth mesh network. And then the other 2 motors are going to be searching for that master signal. From there, basically kind of program it what you've already done with this sliding motor. We move to the A point, we move the pan, we move the tilt, and we set the A point. We move it over to the B point, do all that setup. From there, the master, if we hit play, it's going to take a second, sync everything up to the motors, and then they all move together at the same time. Zeapon, if you are able to do this so that we don't have to use a smartphone app at all, this is going to make a lot of filmmakers happy because we can just get on with it and we don't have to have a dedicated iPad or smartphone just to tell it to remember these points. I think it can be done. Definitely look into that. And I've already given you the idea that because of how you design this motor, you can technically make a brushless one that's not as powerful in terms of its pull, but it's silent. So now you have this option of creating an ecosystem where people have choice. And hey guys, that is the end of this video. If you do want to purchase this, I do have some affiliate links down below. It does help support the channel should you use it. Otherwise, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave it down below. I will get to them as fast as I can. This has been TLDR Filmmaker, and I'll see you guys in the next one.